Bye now. Good afternoon, Hotline.
Good afternoon, Jeff. How are you?
Good.
Hey, did you happen to get a chance to go see Miss Saigon over the weekend at the high school?
No, but I know when the students called in last week, I think, to mention it. I'm sure they did a great job.
It was really impressive. Very, very talented group of individuals, and the production was great. But I don't know if you've ever seen the production before, but there are a few scenes in it where a weapon is used.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a bit ironic that they had that in a school. And actually, the night that I went, there was a couple that got up and left.
Because there was a weapon?
Well, apparently.
Well,
that's what it looked like to me. They got up and left.
We can't just do Mother Goose rhymes for school plays. I mean, was it too adult a subject matter, you think? I mean, did it deal with sex, drinking, drugs, violence?
It was definitely
because if it's charged with those type of things in today's puritanical view, then it shouldn't be.
Well, here's what I thought was interesting is that a while back, gotta be.
Well, were you offended?
I wasn't offended.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter whether or not.
Now, what kind? When you say a weapon, was it just like a stage prop for a gun or something?
Well, here's what I did, Jeff. And I want to preface this with a while back, and I'm not sure how long ago this was. I'm thinking within the past year, and I think it happened at the South Jeff School District. There was, I think he was, and if one of the other callers knows.
Okay, well, you've got to move it along here, the story.
Well, this guy, I think he was like a former principal, came in and had a concealed carry permit and displayed his gun to someone at the school. And then he got in a lot of trouble over that.
Well, that's probably not a smart thing to do.
Let me finish my story, okay? So someone displayed a gun at a school and got in a lot of trouble.
Gotcha.
So I just went online to the Watertown High School code systems, and in section 5312.2 is dangerous weapons in schools. And there's a bunch of paragraphs in there about how you shouldn't have rifles, shotguns, knives, dangerous chemicals, etc.
You probably shouldn't.
And then there's a paragraph here that says, in addition to the above, no student, employee, contracted employee, BOCES employee, or visitor to the Watertown School District shall have in his or her possession upon school premises any look-alike firearm or dangerous weapon. So obviously this was a prop gun. But my question is, how were they able to do this without going against their policy? Now, I certainly don't want to get anyone in trouble, but if you're going to have policies and...
Well, that's what it comes down to, is that all of these things about if you give your kid an aspirin to take to school in case they have a headache, all of a sudden you're like...
yeah, no, I agree with you.
Medellin cartel or something.
If you're going to make rules, you got to follow them. Now, was there some sort of...
waiver?
Yeah, was there a waiver put in place for this? Because, I would hate to see the students get in any kind of trouble for this. I think it's...
Well, I doubt they're going to. Well, I think it's clearly the intent is that if you're putting on an artistic depiction there, in this case a musical, that the props that are appropriate, that are part of it, are appropriate. I mean, that doesn't mean it's appropriate to take the same props to the classroom.
Well, there are no
and that's
in the policy for that. So the policy doesn't state it. Just like if you...
Well, I know, but you can nitpick all of this stuff all you want. I mean, at some point you got to rely on good judgment and all of that. And you say somebody left, the production because of that. Well, they must be...
Well, no, I'm assuming that. They got up and left at that.
Maybe they had to go to the bathroom.
Well, both of them? Okay. Yeah, who knows? Actually, that's irrelevant. It's irrelevant in terms of what's going on here. There was a situation where there was a look-alike firearm in use on school property. I'm just saying, you've got one instance where someone's punished for it, and another instance where they're not.
Well, it's okay. I think the obvious answer to that is in life you come down to intent, and there are lots of things that you can possess or think about or anything else, but,
I've heard stories about kids getting suspended for having those little not the G.I. Joes, those little plastic soldiers with the little toy guns that you...
Yeah, listen, I get it. I see what you're saying.
Right, yeah, it seems like you're trying to justify their policy that's not...
No, I'm just trying to say that, unfortunately, the policy is written to deal with certain situations, and then something else comes along, and you can... I remember, this has nothing to do with violence or anything. I remember years ago the city used to have a $25 tax on what they called amusement devices, and that was fine as long as you were just charging businesses. And then when someone suggested that, gee, the county fair has about 100 pinball games, shouldn't they be charged? Then it became unattractive to charge that same fee because of who was being charged. So my point is that what seems a good idea in some circumstances isn't always in all circumstances. And I would agree with you that there's an apparent contradiction. But I would also say that if you feel that way, if you feel strongly enough that you would call into a talk show to try to point out what you think is a contradiction in the district's policy, then don't you owe it to Mr. Freilich to maybe call him and express your concerns and ask that question?
I don't know if I want to go that far with it. I'm just thinking that it's interesting, I know, but I'm just saying. I don't want any of the students or anyone involved in this to get in any kind of trouble. I'm just saying, here they have a policy.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, there's a big loophole in it.
Gotcha.
That's all.
All right, I got to run. I got commercials to do.
Yep.
Okay. Quick calls here. Good afternoon, Hotline.
Yeah, Jeff, your previous caller, the last parade that I saw was a soldier that carried an M16. He staged at the Watertown High School. Your previous caller want to have him arrested? Maybe consider a conspiracy for the entire U.S. Army and have them arrested?
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. Listen, I that's the problem with rules. He points out an interesting contradiction or conundrum, because we do get into those situations where we want to have rules for everything, and then all of a sudden and listen, the same could be said about the dog rule, too.
There's a certain point of legalism which kind of runs into common sense. Now, I like to walk up and down Washington Street a lot, and sometimes I like to take an extra lap kind of around the high school like that. I carry a little pocket knife. It's got about a 2.5-inch blade. It's not exactly an assassin or anything like that. But on the other hand, I guess if you read that rule completely, I could be convicted as a felon for bringing a weapon onto school property.
Yeah, be careful. Well, don't be admitting to that. We'll keep an eye on it for you now.
Well, I dress in camouflage, so usually you can't see me because I'm invisible, so.
I gotcha. All right, I got to run. Thanks. I know.